The Southern Alberta Council on Public Affairs acknowledges that we are gathered on the lands of the Blackfoot people of the Canadian Plains, and we pay respect to the Blackfoot people, past, present, and future, while recognizing and respecting their cultural heritage, beliefs, and relationship to the land. We offer respect to the Métis and all who have lived on this land and made Lethbridge their home.
Okay, everyone. My name is Knut Petersen, and I am today's moderator. Please turn off your cell phones, put it on silent if you like. That makes things roll easier. Today we're talking about chess, and chess for life at the University of Lethbridge. How might chess help those involved in the criminal justice system, which is, there's many other benefits from chess, of course, but this is what we're kind of addressing today. And so we have Dr. Lance Grigg. He's going to be the first speaker. He's kind of launched the program at the university. And then we have Joel Fortier coming to tell us about what's presently happening. And then we have Jade Oldfield. She's a doctoral student at the university, and she's going to talk a little bit about the benefits in terms of how your brain might function, especially for young people, but also for the older age. It might even keep you going a little bit longer in terms of dementia and stuff like that. So thanks very much for being here. The session is recorded, as everyone probably know by now. And 25 to 30 minutes presentation, followed by equal time for question and answers. Sessions are recorded by Ryan, which is a really big help for SACPA. It increases our audience by multifold. So we are very happy that he's here, and let's get started. Lance, would you like to come up? Jade, you're going to start first? Okay. Give her a warm welcome, please.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone. Thank you all for being here. That's all good. I'll just stand up a little higher. But I'll just get us kicked off today and kind of talk to you about how this is going to run today, what we're going to go over, and who's kind of like Knut already spoke to, who's talking to what. So today we're going to give you a little bit of information about the origins of the program, how it started, what it looked like, and why there was a need for such a program to begin with. We'll move into talking about the current programs, which include our current Lethbridge partners, as well as essentially what's becoming a very broad-reaching program. We can talk to you a little bit about some of our recent interactions with the Calgary Youth Correctional Centre. And then I'll talk to you a little bit about the neuroscience and the research. So why this is theorized to be good for adolescents' brains, as well as what we've seen so far. And Dr. Grigg will also talk to you a little bit about that in terms of the anecdotal research that's been conducted previously. And then we'll have a couple of resources. Essentially, if you're interested in accessing the slides after today, you'll have the opportunity to do that at the end of the presentation. So to start us off, we'll have Dr. Grigg come up and talk to us a little bit about the foundations and history of the program. And then after that, our current undergraduate student, Joel Fortier, will take over to talk a little bit more about what those Friday programs look like, what our programs at the Lethbridge Correctional Centre look like, and how those are running. So without further ado, Dr. Lance Grigg.
Now, Knut just told me how this works, so we can do an assessment practice. So, how am I? Here, is this all right? Is this all right? Okay. So, thank you again, to echo Jade's words. Thank you very much for being here. We're, oh, closer? Closer. First time someone said get closer so they can hear me. Usually it's stand further away. But I just want to say thank you. And one of the most important things about the Chess for Life program at the University of Lethbridge is how interdisciplinary it is. We have neuroscience, we have education, we have philosophy, the Center for Critical Thinking and Citizen Engagement Lab that we're working with. It is a whole, it is really an intra-university program, and we're grateful to be able to be part of it. So what I'd like to just do is give you a brief overview of some of its foundations. I'd like to talk to you a bit about where it's come from. And then Joel, our senior Chess for Life team member as well, he actually he went to Norbridge Senior Center, so he's on his way back here really fast, so he apologizes for that, but he's going to be, he's right there. Okay, so just to get an overview of what Chess for Life at the University of Lethbridge is about, what we want to talk is, I just want to give an overview of some of the big ideas grounding it. It's a restorative justice program, and we're registered officially with Alberta Justice. We're on the books with Alberta Justice, an official referral program that anyone in Alberta can access in the youth criminal justice system when offering opportunities to do 25 hours of probation. So the basic foundations of Chess for Life program is the neuroscience of executive functions. Jade is going to be speaking to that specifically. We build it around some important chess principles from some grandmasters. There's an important feature called Space, Time, and Harmony, which is the foundation of the program, by women grandmaster Irina Krush, 8-time U.S. Open women's champion. And Joel's going to speak to some of the key features of that. And hope theory, which Joel will talk about as well. And then critical thinking, sort of that's my area. And we'll be talking about how those are the foundations to the Chess for Life program. And of course, chess. Okay, to begin, way back when in 2016, I read an article in the paper about local judge Derek Redmond. He sentenced a youth to play basketball. I got interested. I thought this was an excellent alternative justice approach. And so I know Derek, we work out at the university. And I asked him about using chess as an opportunity to nurture and deepen this restorative justice approach, and he said, sure, do some research, get back to me, and let's talk. I did, we did, and Chess for Life was born. We began with a pilot group of youth ranges from age to 14 to 17. They were referred to the program by youth crown prosecutors at Alberta Justice. Youth were required to complete 25 hours of chess instruction as per their probation. The youth that came to the University of Lethbridge every Friday afternoon from 1 to 3, some stayed longer, some arrived earlier. Upon entering the program, youth are given a tournament-style chess set, a carrying bag, and a Chess for Life t-shirt. We have some nice visuals there to show you exactly what we give them. We give them a t-shirt with a whole bunch of thinks on it and one move, and Jade will unpack why we do that. And at each session, youth, like I said, they're also we make it a nice afternoon. We bring in some pizzas, some chips, some sandwiches, juice boxes, a few little candies, and then we began one pilot session with adults at the Lethbridge Correctional Center. And Joel's going to speak to what the current status of that is. It's very promising. And given the rapid growth of the program, we wanted to do some research on it. This is back earlier in 2017. We wanted to know what was working, what wasn't, how we could improve. And so we designed an ethnographic study focused on participants and stakeholders' perspectives using some semi-structured interviews. There was positive feedback about the program, Chess for Life program. For example, one parent said she was very grateful for the program, commenting that her child was more patient at home, interacting more respectfully with siblings. Probation officers and caseworkers said the youth felt accepted, not judged. They appreciated the respectful, engaging atmosphere of the university setting and had opportunities to build more positive relationships with participants. We even explored alternative sites, but we heard feedback from probation officers quite a bit, as well as others. I know if you keep it at the university, that seems to be really working. Let's just stay with that. Okay. There were positive responses from using the program. Some of them said, for example, it's helping my patients. It's good here, just interacting, you know, just playing chess. I didn't really know. I didn't really know how to play chess before. I came here, and I can now. Just coming here and like interacting with nice people, you know, come and play some chess. Lots of it's pretty cool. There's bad choices and good choices in chess. I learned about choices, you know. You're able to come here, Chess for Life, and get your stress and your pressure out and all that outside crap, and it all fades away even for just the hour or two. I'm here. I'm able to reciprocate and relate to some kids that I think can relate to me. It's chess helping me to be able to process in conflict situations, like slowly, and be able to kind of get a good understanding of things that are going on. Chess makes me be able to calm down and think a bit more clearly and process a lot better instead of getting my emotions kind of drawn into whatever I'm thinking. You know, this is direct feedback from the youth. So from 2019 to 2021, we were shut down by COVID. From 20 to 21, we have a second agreement with a local CAD company. That was, Jade was really responsible in getting that going, so there's no cost to the youth to share. We've begun a formal research study to better understand the success the program has seen. And we're connecting with interested partners in Edmonton, Calgary, and Brooks to help support expansion of the program. Joel will be speaking more to this. We are plotting a chess curriculum that can be taught by anyone. And Chess for Life has been expanded into senior centers. For example, right now I'm in aged care, Columbia. We're hoping to expand further. And to date, well over 70 youth have gone through the program. And we've begun a second cohort last fall at the ULethbridge Correctional Center. And that was quite unique because it involved remand inmates. And remand, if you're in remand, you don't get access, from what I understand, to programs. So you're kind of just sitting there, right? And so they were very engaged. It was a really good cohort we did with them last fall. And anyway, so just a little bit of an overview of the timeline. You can see youth began in 2016. The pilot program is run with ULethbridge Correctional. Friday Youth program is establishing and running smoothly. Youth programming expanding into schools. We're also in a number of schools. Supports for the original program increased. Research component added. Running a second cohort at the ULethbridge Correctional Center with a research component, working with seniors, and new programs in alternative schools. For now, for example, we're working with Fifth on Fifth. And multiple local organizations still request Chess for Life programming. Currently running a third cohort with the ULethbridge Community Center, and again trying to really bolster that connection with senior centers in Lethbridge. In short, we want to really make sure Chess for Life in Lethbridge is solid, and we're also expanding, but Joel can speak more to that. So if I can introduce Joel Fortier, senior undergraduate student at the University of Lethbridge.
Everybody, thank you so much for having me. Oh. Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I've been lucky enough to be doing Chess for Life with Lance and Jade for the past 3 years. Right now I'm in my last year at the U of L, and it's been awesome so far. So I'm talking about the present initiatives Chess for Life is doing. Every week on Fridays we do Chess for Life on campus at the university. That's with the youth, the young offenders. And Lance has been doing chess at Fifth on Fifth alternative school weekly, then bi-weekly. We do Chess for Life at Lethbridge Family Services, which is weekly, then bi-weekly. And we're on our second and third cohort at the Lethbridge Correctional Center right now, which is twice weekly, every Monday and Wednesday evening. Lance does Chess for Life at the Lethbridge Senior Center weekly, which looks like a lot of fun. So I'll be going through a typical Friday session on campus. So these are 2-hour sessions from 1 to 3 every Friday. And I like to think about the whole session itself as a chess game. And in every chess game, there's 3 parts: the opening, the middle game, and the end game. So the opening, we have to get set up. We have to get our board set up. we create the right environment to learn. And the way we do this is the Chess for Life team members give a warm welcome to all the youth that comes. Like, hey, come on in, grab a slice of pizza, and join up at a chessboard with one of us. So just creating that warm environment kind of fosters the right environment to learn right off the bat. Then we actually sit down and play chess. So we go through games together, and we talk through the whole game and say, oh, what's your thinking behind that move? What's your idea here? And just organic conversations come out of just sitting across from the chessboard with one another, just playing chess. And then the end game, and that's kind of the final end goals of the Chess for Life program. And that's to apply the principles for a good chess game to have a good life game, to make strong decisions in life. So the major life lessons that chess can teach us, there's a lot, but the major ones, and it's on all of our shirts, it's that think, 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 then move. So think about the consequences of an action before you move, before you do the action. You know, think, what are the repercussions? Are there better moves on the board? Should I make this move or should I not make this move on the chessboard and in real life? The second one is blunders in series. So in chess, if you make a mistake, if you give up a piece for free, we call that a blunder. And blunders tend to happen if you make a mistake. They tend to kind of snowball, and you make a mistake after a mistake. You know, you wake up late, you spill coffee on your shirt, you get to work late, these kinds of things. So chess, it teaches us to, okay, acknowledge, I made a mistake, I gave a piece up. No problem, I'm gonna think, 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 and the best thing I can do right now is just to make the next best move on the board, or the next best decision for myself in life to improve my position. Another big one is hope building, and that's identifying achievable objectives. So, okay, I need to remove, say, the pawns around a protected king. I need to make a pathway or a plan to do this. I need to invest hope into this plan and know that I'll be able to do it. And then, yeah, identifying those obstacles and making a plan to just remove those obstacles. And a good chess player always plays both sides of the board. We play both the white and the black pieces. And that just speaks to seeing each other's perspective, knowing that other people might have ideas that we didn't see ourselves, or see moves on the board we don't even see ourselves. So acknowledging that other people, other people are playing the game well, and that we can learn from them on the chessboard and in real life. Another big one is space, time, and harmony, and this is the theory from Grandmaster Irena Krush, who says we need to get the 64 squares on the chessboard and use them to our advantage, organize our pieces well, manage our space well, and harmonize that with, and chess is often a timed game, so we need to manage our time well and create plans that use space well and use the time we're allocated well, and to play a good chess game. And this is so applicable to real life because we need to use our head space well, our room space, our office space well, and manage our time well to have a good game in life. And these are good for chess. These are also employable skills, skills that you use outside of a job, just to, make strong decisions in life. So beyond chess, there's so many great things that can be learned from the chessboard, but there's also just byproducts of the chess program that are good byproducts. It's a space that's held on campus, like Lance said, that says, come on to the university campus and play a board game, which is face-to-face. In a day and age where we're all on our phones probably a little more than we should be, it's just a 2-hour allocated session to, let's just play a board game with each other and have some organic human interaction. And I think the university campus setting is great because it exposes these youth to, I've made some mistakes, but I'm not discounting university out of the picture. I get to be on campus talking with real students and asking them questions. I think that's a really good part of Chess for Life. These slides are about our sessions at the Correctional Center every Monday, Wednesday evenings. So like Lance said, these individuals are in the remand system with very little programming. So when Chess for Life is programmed, they're very enthusiastic and really apply themselves seriously to learn and apply the things that they learned in their own games. So first we'll start out a typical session with a group lesson. We'll go through a famous game that was played 100 years ago, or a tough puzzle, and that just right off the bat creates a community of solving. We're all on the same team of solving this problem. Lately, the past couple sessions, we've been teaching chess notation, which is just writing down the moves we make and the moves our opponents make, so that we can take the things we've written and play through the games on our own later. And I think the chess notation is kind of symbolic, because it teaches us that the moves we make on our chessboard are recorded and written down, just like the moves we make in real life, especially for the folks inside the Correctional Center. They're recorded and written down. So we want to invest a lot of thinks before we make a move. And then we move into one-on-one games and just go through, what was your thinking behind that move, just like the youth. And some great conversations come out of the games, and some awesome games. It's a lot of fun playing. And yeah, the think before you move, we teach that actions are written in space, time, and harmony. And then the hope building, identifying obstacles and making plans, are all things we teach that are across the board for the Chess for Life program. This is Chess for Life at the Senior Center, which looks like a lot of fun. Jade will be speaking more about working memory, cognitive flexibility, which is definitely a benefit from chess for these folks. And we're very active in the community. The photo on the very left side there is Play Day, which is the university hosts an open house where Lethbridge families bring their whole families, their kids, and have some awesome games, one of which was a Chess for Life booth. And kids, it's amazing how fast they pick up chess, and they're the most creative players you'll ever play. And once you know chess, you have that, you can play it for the rest of your life. The bottom two photos are Brain Awareness Week, which are teaching the same kind of life principles that can be learned through chess, but a bit more emphasis on the research part, the neuroscience behind that, which Jade will get into next. And C4L, Chess for Life, has been doing well in the press too, just spreading the message that a lot can be learned and applied in real life through the chessboard, and we just need to spread that message as much as we can so that everybody starts playing chess, we hope. In Chess for Life in the future, we're working on solidifying the program and research in the Edmonton Youth Correctional Center as well as the Calgary Youth Correctional Center. We're looking to establish a control group in the chess program within the elementary school system, and we plan to add a cohort of females at the Lethbridge Correctional Center doing Chess for Life with them. We're interested in participating with any other additional adult correctional centers, and ideally we'd be able to train organizations like schools or nonprofits to build capacity just running Chess for Life themselves, so it's a self-sustaining type of thing. And we're working on a curriculum connection document for teachers, so that the Chess for Life program kind of runs itself and they can teach it as well. And now I'll pass it off to Jade to talk about the neuroscience and research all behind the program.
We're just going to do that. I like to walk and talk with my hands a little bit. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking to you about what Lance and Joel have alluded to, which is essentially executive functions and how that applies to chess. So executive functions are essentially a skill that exists predominantly in your prefrontal cortex, which is kind of that frontmost part of your brain, right behind your eyeballs there. So executive functions are skills that can predict life success better than things like IQ and even socioeconomic status. So with executive functioning, it's generally not fully developed. I was gonna say, huh? No? No? Oh, I was hoping for a laser pointer. But they're generally not fully developed until about 25 to 30 years of age. So when you think about that, that's quite a ways into our adult life before we have these skills kind of fully ready to, you know, think flexibly, put ourselves in other people's shoes, and therefore, let's spend some time before that point building them up. We have hypothesized that Chess for Life will see increases in these skills. The research is still ongoing because a lot of the populations we work with are relatively transient. So it can sometimes be hard, even with those in the correctional centers, to get both pre and post testing. Last cohort we did, we had, I think, 8 in the cohort, and I think we got around 4 total pre and post tests. And as like the day that we were going to be finishing one of the testings, one of them was released, and it's like, I'm so happy for you, but darn it. So, executive functions essentially help you make these goals that we're talking about. When we're talking about this hope theory, we want to try and encourage youth and adults to be able to see past their current circumstances and work to define and achieve a goal that they set for themselves. And that starts over the board, right? And for somebody like me that's a little bit more of a novice chess player, my hope is to make it to the mid-game, essentially. So it's still a goal. We'll talk a little bit more about working memory, cognitive flexibility, and behavioral inhibition. But essentially, these skills predict better lifelong success, higher income, and just generally more higher socioeconomic status, and just a better quality of life. They're also connected to the emotional center. So when we're talking about executive functions, generally speaking, if you did a Google right now, you're gonna get a list of like anywhere from 3 to 10. But these 3 are the predominant 3 that we look at when it comes to research. They're the more cognitive skills that we can work with our youth to help train. And by extension, we're also hoping to train kind of that self-regulation where, you know, they might have a bad game, but can we reflect on that game and go, you know, crap, I really didn't play as well as I could have, but, you know, this is what I'm going to do next time. At the correctional center, we get lots of explicitives when we play. And as they learn, it slowly reduces, right? So the other idea behind executive functions is the idea of transfer. So can what we're doing over the board actually transfer into real life? And this is, again, an area of ongoing research because we know that near transfer is relatively easy and does occur. Far transfer, where we're looking at, for example, chess to executive functions, is a little bit more of an unknown, whereas near transfer, so something like you're practicing algebra to get better at calculus, right? Not exactly the same, but one lends to the other, whereas far transfer is kind of taking a bigger jump. You know, does language make you better at math, for example? So when we're talking about what we're doing for the research, we are or have been focusing a lot on adolescents, but especially with our programs in the correctional center where we're dealing with 18 and up, we work with all ages. So the adolescent period is a really interesting period because the hormones that are being essentially released in the body make the brain more plastic and malleable and can essentially be a little bit more flexible to what we're presenting to adolescents. And you can see, generally speaking, the little ones that always ask you, why? Why? Tell me why. That 3 to 5 year old range, they have like the most plasticity, but we can see it increase again when we hit adolescence. So we want to leverage that period. And so if the best time is 3 to 5 and the next best time is adolescence, after that, any age, we want to be kind of working on these skills as well, because we do see a little bit of a decline as we get older. So we've kind of talked a little bit about what the participants in our programs look like. We've kind of talked a little bit about what we do in terms of we're aiming for about 25 hours of chess, give or take. And then we have some different testing that we do to determine if we're seeing those increases. So to back up a little bit, we're looking at working memory, which is being able to hold something in mind and manipulate it. So when we think about the chessboard, when we're thinking like 2 or 3 moves ahead, we're actually thinking about, okay, if I do this and I go here and they do this, that's going to be working memory, especially as you're employing that as they make their moves. Cognitive flexibility is the ability to, once they've essentially taken a piece or you've blundered, being able to shift perspectives or shift patterns so that you can take a new route instead of getting fixed in a certain opening, let's say. So while chess has lots of patterns to it, we need to be able to bounce between those patterns. And then finally with inhibition, it's that ability to think, and then move. And so I think what's beautiful about the concept of the think, move shirts that we use and we give to kids is more so that the research only came into Chess for Life a few years ago. Chess for Life was established well before that, and the shirt was established before that, right? And so that's kind of how the concept of the executive functioning piece and the research really just kind of came to unite really well with the program. We do a number of tests to be able to test these executive functions. I won't go into all of them because some of them are more exciting than others, but we do something related to working memory, inhibition. We also do a vocabulary test, again, to see if we're seeing some kind of connections between language skills and executive functions, and a few other tasks, including a motor task and a survey on executive functioning. So essentially what we're hoping to see over time, once we have some of these data sets built up, is that with the maturation of that prefrontal cortex, which happens hopefully by 25 to 30, some research does show it takes even longer than that, we're going to see increased opportunity to leverage social and educational environments through especially the Friday program, as well as 25 hours of chess. We should see some increases in executive functioning, which has been shown in some recent research. So moving forward, one of the things we're going to be looking at actually is adding a qualitative component where we're actually interviewing the youth and the participants so that we can really understand their stories and lived experience. Because numbers are great, but as kind of Lance introduced from that ethnographic study, the stories are what are really powerful and really make you realize that the youth and the participants are just seeing things differently after being able to connect it over the board. So I won't spend too much time on these pieces, but this is just some work that's been done by some previous students related to the program, and like what one of our students who had finished the pre and the post looked like after the testing and after the chess program. And then, did you want to finish up on some critical thinking pieces? come back. So we kind of alluded to this, and we can kind of answer some questions on it, but talking about essentially how do we think critically over the board and in life. And then, as Lance alluded to, there is now a burgeoning critical thinking and citizen engagement lab that's looking to kind of leverage similar principles to what we're doing in Chess for Life. And as I had kind of mentioned, there's a QR code coming up where you can scan to download the slides if you so choose, just in case you want to get to some of the nitty-gritty that we didn't read off the slides today. But just to give you an idea of some of the activities we've done, so we're out in the community. This is actually a 3D printed chessboard for the blind created by a previous Chess for Life team member. And then some photos from our Chess Fest this last summer, which was a big hit. We had about 25 youth, as young as like 5, 6 years old, playing in a youth tournament. And you can definitely see some executive functions at work retroactively as they realized that maybe there was a move that wasn't as well played as it could have been. So I will leave this up for a moment, but I'll turn it back over to our host, who can take us from there. Thank you.
Thank you very much to LSTO for providing this room free of charge, and much appreciated if you patronize the wonderful lunch counter. Thank you also very much to Rogers TV and Ryan for doing a great job of recording our sessions, putting it onto the YouTube and spreading the word. Thank you to U of L for supporting us financially, and you know, they like SACPA and the community, and I think actually the Public Professor Series were kind of, you know, copying SACPA out in the community, so we can take a little bit of credit for that. We also like to thank Tango Media, who provides our web service for free. They redesigned our website, and they also pay our yearly fees for us, so that's very much appreciated. What else should I say? Lethbridge Herald, sometimes here, and other news media come here whenever there's whenever it's a slow news day, I guess you could say. Anyway, let's get to the question and answer period. Please be brief when you ask your question. Yeah, come on up, state your name.
Maria Fitzpatrick, and first of all, thank you for a great presentation. I've never heard of Chess for Life before, so I'm thrilled. I have a card for you because I'm with a couple of other groups, and I'd like you to come and do some presentations. But my question is, you talked about being at the Lethbridge Correctional Center and working with offenders that are there. Those offenders are doing 2 years less a day. So are you doing anything with federal offenders who are all doing more than 2 years? That's the first part.
So that's a wonderful question. We actually just got asked that question recently by a potential funder within the Alberta government. And so the piece that we have to consider really comes down to the volunteers. So we would probably see more consistency and less turnover in terms of participation and being able to get those data sets with those in the federal institutions. However, I think we would have to develop a little bit more training and a little bit more of not a strong volunteer base, because our volunteers are currently absolutely amazing, but essentially a prepared volunteer base, because there are times where our volunteers are a little unsure of what they're walking into because we don't know the backgrounds of the people we're working with. And frankly, we don't want to know, and we want to treat them as individuals. However, once we move to the federal institutions that do have the longer sentences that are generally a little bit more severe, I think we just have to put a little bit more consideration into what that looks like before it's possible, but it is possible. That makes sense.
Okay, thanks very much, because I'll give you this card, and that's for another, it's got my email on it. I worked in corrections for almost 33 years, and I certainly see a program like this being very effective, and I would certainly be prepared to do some liaison with the federal corrections, and they have nothing to do with the provincial corrections, just say in provincial government. And I'm on the Citizens Advisory Committee here in Lethbridge, so I'd love to have you come and do a presentation to that committee to begin with, probably in September. Okay, so you've got my card.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That was very exciting. I just want to clarify. You talked about Friday afternoons and then at the LCC, the Correctional Center. I'm unclear as to if you have one researcher with each participant to guide them through the questions about how are they planning the next move and so on. And if it's not just your researchers, if you just mentioned volunteers, if you have volunteers, who are they? Do you need volunteers? I heard you say something about training. So that sounds interesting, and I'm sure there's people who will be watching this who will be interested. And my second question relates to, or my third question, does chess help buffer cognitive decline? Okay, 3 questions.
Thanks so much for the question. It's a great question. So typically we'll do like one-on-one. We'll have as many Chess for Life volunteers as we have kids there. And then Jade has a couple grad students who handle the research. So like one-on-one Chess for Life volunteers, and then we hand them to Jade and her grad students, and they handle the research. Yeah. And yeah, we're always looking for volunteers, especially during the summer months when a lot of our volunteers go away, back to Calgary or wherever they live that's not Lethbridge. The volunteers, we're always looking for volunteers. Yeah, yeah. And the last question was, oh, cognitive decline, absolutely, yeah, yeah. Jade can probably speak to most of the working memory, but I've read a couple. I love to read chess books, and I talked to some folks at Brain Awareness Week who are running the Alzheimer's booth. They said that, I mean, chess is amazing for working memory, just playing the game, like cognitive flexibility, and then the task switching between playing chess, having a conversation about it is just like, it's like gymnastics for the brain. I've heard it stated in chess books. Yeah, does that answer your question? Yeah, thank you.
Hi, my name is Henning Mundel, and I have sort of 2 questions. One relates to, okay, Chess for Life. Now, it doesn't just exist here, but you didn't relate to others, but like I saw there's Chess for Life in Uganda, in South Africa, there's Chess for Freedom, there's Chess for Prisons. And so I wonder to what extent, I used to be a scientist at the research station, do you cooperate with some of these programs? Do you get feedback from them that you learn from them and they can learn from your experiences? And on the other hand, with the specific research like neuroscience research and so on, do you go to that step? I haven't heard any mention of it. Recidivism. I see there were studies done in Spain and Brazil where they're fantastic. I don't know anything about their techniques. The 30 to 50% reduction in recidivism. Do you have any data, and are you trying to develop some things like that?
Again, great questions. These questions are far too good. I'm leaving. No, excellent. In terms of cooperation among Chess for Life programs globally, when I started exploring what existed for chess and anyone involved in the criminal justice system, there were some excellent American programs, some excellent programs throughout Europe. For example, there's out of Atlanta, Georgia, Master Orrin Hudson. He worked with inner cities and youth trying to, help them get through the criminal justice system using chess. There was people working in South America, looking at inmates in federal institutions there and trying to get them involved in chess and reduce rates of recidivism. And recidivism is very a challenging, thing to try and demonstrate and increase or decrease in, but maybe less so in increasing. But I haven't come across. There was a Chess for Freedom you mentioned. We participated in two international chess conferences run by the International Chess Association, FIDE, and there was a couple of presentations. I think one in Spain and one in Brazil, where they were working with inmates and trying to measure over a 5-year period any rates of recidivism, what happened to them. And they experienced some real positive results, with inmates even coming back to the prison and helping the Chess for Life team or the chess team there work with other inmates. So there are, and we haven't sort of connected in terms of the research, but we have connected in terms of informing one another, for example, through 2 international Chess for Freedom conferences. And that's something we would really like to explore in further detail and really get more of those relationships concretized globally. And I think one of the things that everyone who wants to run a program like chess with certain populations, you really have to take time to build a strong foundation. Like, for example, we've been working in Lethbridge now for almost 8 years, and we really want to focus on consolidating that, making that consistently strong. But with that, now start to venture forth. And we're venturing forth into Calgary and Edmonton, and hopefully we can just keep expanding globally. But I would love to. I don't do this kind of research, and I do the critical thinking stuff, but the longitudinal research looking at rates of recidivism, that would be a nice interdisciplinary study to work with you. So if you're available, we could have your card. Is that okay? Is that good? Thank you very much.
My name is Terry Shellington, and I have a kind of a wandering, confused sort of question, reflection that maybe you could comment on. But I've played chess, and I've worked at, I've introduced my 15-year-old grandson to chess, and I know it's a challenge for him because chess is I experience it as a very sedentary occupation. You sit and you think and you think, and I wonder, I think he has trouble sitting that long and thinking that long. And maybe that's exactly what you want to introduce people to. I imagine people from the it's not a jail, it's the correctional, thank you, who maybe haven't done a lot of don't have a rich interior life, or haven't spent a lot of time reflecting and contemplating. Anyway, I'm wondering how you get some of these people to sit and think when they're not used to it. That's my wondering anyway.
Thank you. Excellent question. I'll address the first part, then Jay's going to speak to some of the amazing research on ADHD and chess. And it's amazing, that research is quite positive. You know, because of the hyperfixation with ADHD, it's just what I've read, it's all only background I have in that, but it really dovetails nicely with chess, which is very focused, very context sensitive, that kind of thing. But in terms of the pedagogy, is what do we do with, for example, people who may have had a difficult time just sitting down and spending 5 minutes in one spot? Well, we introduce chess in bits and pieces. We have a number of games which just use 1 or 2 chess pieces. For example, we start with everybody a game called Caramels. Now, in Caramels is it's fun, it's tasty, you know, and it involves some strategic thinking. And Caramels goes like this. All you have on the board are the knights. So white has 2 knights, black has 2 knights, and you put them in the starting positions, and every other square has a caramel. So there's 64 squares on the board. You got 4 spaces or squares taken up with knights. Every other square has a caramel. And the object is to use your knight to capture as many caramels as you can. It's a lot of fun. With one inmate, I think I spent there was like 19 minutes. I timed one game of caramels. Now it's easy at the beginning, right? Then all of a sudden you got to start thinking in 2 moves, 3 move sequences, sometimes 4 moves. And so that is a nice, non-threatening, fun, and tasty way of introducing chess. Another one is Pawn Wars. And Pawn Wars is where you only use the pawns, and that's the only pieces you have on the board. And 8 white pawns, 8 black pawns. And the objective is whoever gets any one of those pawns to the other end of the board first wins. Now in chess, there's something called promotion of pawns. If a pawn goes to the end of the board, it can become a queen, the most powerful piece on the chessboard, a queen. My wife tells me that, never forget it, the most powerful piece is a woman. Okay, fair enough. But whoever does that first wins, right? And those games get very competitive. Yeah. Sorry. Right. So that's the first part of that. And so we do other there's games like Roaming Rooks and Lonely Nights, and they're small, only using 1 or 2 pieces to introduce everything slowly. And we have found the inmates and the youth don't have a difficult time sitting there. Honestly, I played a game of Pawn Wars with one youth which took 37 minutes. Okay? And I'm going, I don't want another one. I'm done. You know, so those are nice ways of it's a good pedagogy for getting people who have had a hard time just sitting in one spot for any length of time to just stay there for 2 hours, and it works. Sorry, Jade, go on.
I won't add much to that other than the fact that, as Lance alluded to, there's actually quite a bit of research on ADHD and chess play. I can't promise you, but this chess paper resource list, that's kind of a bit of a, that's a bit of a summary of a bunch of different papers that we have referenced for different work we've done, including that one-pager there. And I'm pretty sure there'll be a couple on ADHD and chess in there. And the idea is honestly, generally speaking, you have that hyperfixation. But not always, right? And it might just boil down to like finding individual interests, but starting with a really good foundation of those games is important. And then outside of that, going back to those executive functioning pieces, the fact that we are seeing some of the improvements in executive function due to chess play hints to the fact that chess could possibly be used as a intervention for youth with ADHD, ADD. So I can't go too much into that, but I know that there's some references there, and that it's an area of growing research, I would say.
These will be our last 2 questions, so we're going to be running overtime, so maybe quick questions and reasonably quick answers.
My name is Klaus Jericho, and I've been playing chess for most of my life, and I still play it in order to promote my brain health. But I never knew whether it actually does that. And in the February issue of the Scientific American Journal, I came across an article. Apparently, if you develop an expertise in anything, be it chess or Go or knitting or sewing or cooking, it promotes concentration. Promotes concentration. So, of course, concentration is highly desirable for any of these board games, but you still have to make the right moves. And that's where the challenge and the enjoyment is. And the part I really enjoy about chess is when I go and play chess, I call it the holiday from life, because you focus only on the board and nothing else for 2 hours or 3 hours, whatever it may be. And it's a wonderful escape from the world. It's wonderful. So, Jay, to you specifically, what I learned from chess, or my experiences I have from chess, is that transferable to other activities in life?
Transferable in that if you did it with another activity, or?
Oh, sorry?
Oh, it's okay. No, I need clarification anyways.
Sorry.
But yeah. So transferable.
Is what I learned from from chess, my brain activities, is that transferable to issues of life, which of course what this whole program is all about. But tell me a little bit more about the brain, what goes on in the brain, that it might be transferable.
All right, a little bit of neuroscience. So trying to keep this short. The reason why we do theorize that we're going to see near and far transfer is because of the ability of the brain to essentially create new connections and neurons within the brain. And the best way of describing what that could look like, essentially, is if you've ever gone, let's just say, like tobogganing with yourself, your kids, your grandkids. What happens essentially, or if you think of like a river running downhill, it creates grooves, right? So one slide down the hill, one trickle of water down the hill doesn't really make a huge impact. However, over time, as you know, run by run by run down the hill, that groove becomes deeper, wider, and more established, to the point where it becomes, we can call it a habit, because this is kind of the concept of how habits are built as well, but essentially the connections become stronger. And so when we spend time over the board, you know, going think, 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 move, we're essentially reinforcing those grooves in the brain. And by reinforcing those patterns, those grooves, we're essentially building those skills. And so what's going to happen essentially is that we're going to start to see those skills applied not only over the board, but we're going to see them apply outside of the board as well. So that's the quick answer to your question. But yeah, some of the anecdotal stories we have from youth of just like, the best one, just to give you a quick one, was one of the inmates from the ULethbridge Correctional Center. We were shared a story that, you know, he did end up back for something, unfortunately. But the first time he was telling the correctional officer, he's like, you know, I was gonna do this thing. And then I stopped, and I thought about it, and I thought about it again. And then I realized that it wasn't gonna lead me to a good place. So I didn't do it. He's like, and then I had this other opportunity. And he's like, I was gonna do it, but chess taught me to think before I move. So I thought about it, and I thought about it, and I didn't do it. He's like, and he was joking around with the officer, but he said, the third time, however, there was some substances involved, and I didn't think about it, and now I'm here. But the point is that we're essentially reinforcing those behaviors through neural connections, and then we're going to see those behaviors transfer.
Hi, I'm Lynn Gregson. Thank you. That was a fascinating presentation. And in a way, you kind of addressed my question. So have you ever done this presentation or worked with chess with young people who are going through drug addiction? They may not be in jail or they haven't gotten that far yet. But is it something that can be used to help people who are addicts get rid of their addiction in any way? And have you encountered that or used it at all? Thank you very much.
Excellent question. I'll be brief. Good story. We have just begun working with the Drug Court of Alberta. These are people who have been, correct me if I'm wrong, team, sentenced for 24 months, 36 months, something like that, and so to treatment. And so we're going to be working with them. We're going to start working with them mid-April. And that's got a lot of potential. That's got a lot of potential. And that drug court was set up, if I'm not mistaken, by Judge Derek Redmond a couple of years ago. And now, but it's now the program is ongoing at it's downtown or the ULethbridge Correctional Center. Because this is new. We just met with them like about a month or so ago to plan for mid-April. And but I think what your question is, even prior to that. That would be excellent. What's the proactive answer to working with populations that are at risk or could be incarcerated in the future using chess? One of the things the team is doing, and just working with schools, for example, that is one proactive way of in elementary, middle school, high school, of trying to use chess in a way which gets them to think, move first. You know, we would love if we had the resources to give every school, you know, child in Lethbridge a think, move T-shirt. You know, and it would so we, you know, that would be a lovely opportunity. But I think that's one way of sort of trying to reach out and address those populations that are at risk, that could be, you know, on probation or could be incarcerated. Does that help? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, did you want to say anything to that, Jade, at all, or no? That's exactly the thing, and another area that we could reach out to is working with centers involved in recovery they're not incarcerated, they're not on probation, not on parole, but they're just people in recovery, and we could start to reach out with them and try to get a chess for life program up and running there. That would be an excellent, that's a great suggestion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the presentation. There was a lot to learn there, and my question was going to be, but I'm not going to ask it now, except to say that I was going to ask about competitive chess, and you can almost call chess a sport. There's some amazing, some people play 10 other people. The masters of chess, they can play 10 other people and still beat them all. Anyway, next week we are speaking about land use bylaw, a new renewal of the land use bylaw in Lethbridge. That should be very interesting because it tackle some of the housing crisis, housing issues. So come on back and let's give the presenters a big hand. See you next week.
Thank you all very much. Thank you.